Conceptual BJJ back here with another video. Today we're going to be talking about side control and pin escapes. So a lot of times when people are passing your guard, the best thing to do obviously is to retain your guard, and that's why we have a lot of guard retention videos, and feel free to check those out on the channel. They're very insightful hopefully, and will help you guys. But when they do pass your guard, we're going to focus on being able to move. A lot of times our frames can actually hinder us from moving. I know that sounds kind of weird, but I'll explain what I mean. So traditionally, like when we're stuck in side control or escaping a pin, we're taught to, frame, and you can frame, but against a lot better opponents, it's going to be very hard to move sometimes. And it has to do a lot with the small positionings of your frames and your elbows. Generally, once they're past the guard, the closer they are, the more you want to bring your arms in and your elbows in so that you can turn and get on your side and move. So John here, if he passes my guard, and I'm in side control here, right? A lot of us are taught, so if I use these frames, yes, it can be helpful. First of all, the big mistake that I see people make that you don't want to do is use your hands, right? This is a very white belt beginner mistake. If he's holding me like gable grip, it's going to be hard. A lot of people try to bench press off, or even if they hip escape and still use their hands. And it can work if you're very strong, but if he has his hands connected behind me and he's using shoulder pressure to keep me from turning, he has his elbow, blocking my hip from escaping, it's going to be very hard to just use my frames to escape. So if I use my hands, it's going to be a lot harder. If I use my elbow right here, the bottom part of my elbow, so my bone structure right here, not the wrist where it can bend. So if I try to push here, John can drive back into me, and he can squash this. It's not really much of a frame, right? So I'm going to use this bony part of my humerus. So here, if John drives into this, it's going to be very hard. So there's a fine line here because I don't want to push too much up because it's going to slip under and start getting a side choke, right? So I want to make sure it's the lower part of my forearm, but not the tip, right? The lower part right in his neck where his carotid is, on the soft part of his neck. So John, if you look up, so right in the soft part of his neck. I'm not going on the hard part here. So you can use this. So if John squeeze me as much as you want, John. See how it puts pressure? It's actually kind of choking you, right? So the more he squeezes, the more it chokes him, right? So this is a traditional frame, and this can work. So if I put my feet close to my butt, ideally if I step it out so I can hip escape, here, I use this frame. You can still hold me. Hold me like normal, yeah. So I hip escape, here, I connect my knee and my elbow, here like this, and now I can start to break this frame, get inside position, and now I'm back to guard, right? That's how a lot of us are taught to do it, and it can work. But against good guys, sometimes they're so tight here, like this, that even when I'm putting pressure, he's going to start using his chest to open up my elbow. See how my elbow's open now? And he can start going to mount and everything by opening my elbow and driving with his chest and his shoulder under my elbow. I'll show you what I mean. So this is what I like to do too, and a lot of good guys. You'll see, so when they get this and they go under the back here, right here, rather than pulling in and choking myself, I'm going to use my chest now. I'm actually going to move my head up and use my shoulder and my chest. So as John tries to use these frames, I'm going to start moving this up, right? Instead of pulling in and choking myself, see my voice, it's choking me, right? So now do it again. If I use my shoulder, see now he's not choking me, and I'm able to elevate his elbow. So now I can start elevating his arm and going to mount, right? So that's what he's looking to do. In order to escape this against higher level people, this key detail, so if I leave my elbow out here, it's much easier for him to do that. Yeah, he's gonna start pressuring towards my head, and now it really sucks if you've ever been put in that position. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to take this hand, I'm going to pummel it in here and keep this close. Now I'm gonna elevate this up just a little bit so I can get my elbow under his chest. See, instead of out by his shoulder, we can elevate it. Now if he tries to elevate it, it's very hard. So now I might not be able to use these frames to push him off as much, but I can at least like bump up to where I can start to slip my head under the crossface. So I'm not trying to push him off of me. I'm trying to move myself underneath and him above my head, like this. So now you can start to escape, or sometimes if they're still tight, you can go turtle. As far as like, I can go on my shoulder to retain guard that way. So this can be really tight, and sometimes you have to be patient here. If I get my elbow caught out, it's already bad. So what I want to do is, as he's getting side control, like go back like as you're passing. So as he's passing, I don't want to be here, and then he's stuck and he's grabbing me, and my elbow's stuck on the outside. I want to be here, and as he's grabbing me, see my elbow's already under his chest, and it looks really bad, like I'm squashed here. But if he holds me really tight, I can still move him and slip under. So let me show him. So the basic premise is I want to keep my elbows underneath and close, because if my elbows are out, you know, even if I'm putting my elbow technically in the right position in his neck, he can use that as a lever to keep me flat. And for any side control or pin escape, we need to be on our side, right? Because if we're on our back, now we're pinned. His body weight is taking us to the mat on the other side, so we can't really move. If we're on our side, now we can move, right? We're not trying to move our opponent. It's much harder to move your opponent than yourself. So there might be times where he moves a little bit, but I'm not counting on him to move. I'm trying to move myself around these frames and take away his leverage point. So when he pins me to the mat, he's using this leverage point of my elbow to actually keep me there, even though my elbow's like in the right position, right? So a lot of that is taking away the control that he wants rather than just framing. I know a lot of us are taught to frame, and that's good with guard rotation, but the closer he is, he has way more control. So even though I have my frames in place, he can use those because I no longer have my legs in the positions that they need to be, if that makes sense. So first thing I want to do is be on my side, right? Because if I'm flat, the first thing I have to do to escape is be on my side. So when we're retaining guard, we're already trying to be on our side. It doesn't always happen, right? But best case scenario, we're on our side. That way, it makes it harder for them to expose this elbow, the underhook. If he's fighting for this underhook and I'm flat, and if you sit up for a second and you dig for this underhook, like dig for this underhook, he can fight for this easier than I can pummel right here. But if I'm on my side and he pummels this underhook, it's a lot more space. Even if he bring his elbow, his shoulder close, I can pummel a lot easier. And now, because my shoulder's elevated, I always have that space to underhook, right? So even though you have your frames in place and it feels like you have the inside space, the closer they are to you, the closer you need to bring them in. Because traditionally when your frames are here and here, it feels like the inside space, but because I don't have my legs in play, he's able to actually leverage that point. And my elbow's on the outside. See how he's turning me flat here? If my elbow's on the inside, close to my ribs now he does the same thing. If he comes and tries to drive my weight, right? He can't keep me as flat anymore, especially if I block this crossface like here. So now I can get on my side. We have to get on our side to escape, right? So the basic defense looks like this. So I want to have the bottom hand blocking the crossface. So I'm like here, like this. So if I'm here, and most people do this, this blocks it from like medium range. Like if I'm here or here grabbing, I can follow his arm. If he tries to pummel, I can bring my elbow close, and so he can't pummel, right? But if he's already grabbing my head, now this frame is pretty much useless. He can still drive me, yeah. So what I want to do is, as he's grabbing my head, I'm going to turn this palm towards my head here. So as he goes to cross face me, this whole frame keeps me to where, like, if he's putting pressure, it allows me to lift this up so I can slip my head underneath. Now I can hip escape, keeping my knee and elbow connected, like we talked about with guard retention, knee and elbow connected like this. I'm hooking his hip with my foot. So come over this side. So I'm keeping my knee and elbow connected, hooking my foot with his hip, so that he stays in this wall that I've created, right? I don't want this. I want to have this. So the first step of all that is to get to your side, have your frames on place. You want to get used to when they go to pass. When they go to pass, and I feel like I can no longer retain my guard, right? He's getting closer. There's going to be a moment where he starts grabbing your head or here. As soon as I feel this or him reaching for it, after he's past my legs, I'm immediately going to go to this posture here. On my side, sit up for a second. On my side, I'm blocking the crossface here. I can grab my head. I usually start with this. If they're already grabbing my head, then I do this. And I'm blocking the crossface, keeping my elbow to my ribs. You should try this and see how much easier it is if you're using your feet on the floor to turn on your side. If my feet are off the floor, he can just drive me, right? So if he's cross-facing me and my feet are off the floor, he can just turn me. So you cross-face me? Yeah. But if my feet are on the floor driving, so see if you can see from this angle. Over here. So if John cross-faces me and my feet are off the floor, he can just drive me back. Yeah. If I put my feet on the floor and John tries to drive me and I'm blocking the crossface trying to drive me, I can always just scoot back and use this foot right here to block. I can drive back with this foot. I don't want to just have it here. It's by my butt on the side here so I can drive. And if this elbow is out, he's going to drive me back. If he cross faces me, he's going to drive me back. So I have to block these two things that's turning me. So if he starts grabbing my head, I'm going to turn my palm towards my head and I'm going to lift it up. And I'm going to circle my head underneath his arm like this. Now I can frame. He's probably going to pummel his arm. I'm going to keep this blocked with my elbow underneath his chest. So as he's driving back here, right? Now I connect my knee and my elbow here. So if John tries to pass my guard or follow me, like I'm still blocking. A lot of people make the mistake of going to the hip. So another key detail here is if I go to pass and I don't continue blocking this arm and I go to the hip. This happens all the time. So I start escaping, right? I block this and then people go to the hip, right? If I do this, he's just going to push down on my knee, other hand, like this, and go to pass again. You're going to push and then pass my knee like this. Let me show you. So if John's here, go over to this side. John's here, he's blocking this, he starts to escape, right? If he goes to my hip, a lot of people go to the hip a lot of times. I can just push his leg now, here, and just pass. And then now we're back inside. But if John blocks my arm, now I can't push his leg. So, come over here. So if I'm here, and John continues to block my arm, he can connect his knee and elbow. And so now I can't get in. There's no space to get in. And now he can start working square to where he gets his shoulders away and his hips in. Yeah. Here. I never have a chance to push on his leg because he's always monitoring my arm. And then, worst case scenario, even if you can't get your guard back, you can always kind of turtle, almost like I don't like to call it turtle, but it's like you move your hip up, kind of like you're turtling, but you're kind of like hip heisting, I guess, to where I'm using one leg. It's similar to like a butterfly sleep, where I use this top shin here, and I'll elevate my hips like this. So if he's staying really tight here, and I'm here, and maybe I'm trying to get back to guard, he's blocking me with his knee here. I'll use this top knee So if you stand up for a second, I'm using this top knee if I can't get this bottom one in because his knee's right here. So I use this top knee, connect this, knee and elbow, right? We need a wall. We need that knee and elbow connection. If I open this too much, you can just push my knee, right? So I'm framing here. He's going to grab me and trying to pass or trying to keep side control, right? So I can use this and go up and push him. Now I have space to use this knee to come through and retain guard, okay? So another option that he has is he might push this knee back down, right? So I'm here. If I start putting this frame in, he pushes this knee, like out of the way, yeah. So he pushes this out of the way. I can use this knee to come back in. All right, guys, so this is some good points I think that's helped me when escaping side control, especially against better guys. Make sure that, one, they don't crossface you and you're blocking that crossface. A lot of times it helps to turn that palm towards your head and lifting that. You're not trying to push them away, you're trying to sink and pummel your head underneath their arm. So I'm lifting their arm up and pummeling my head to get underneath. I'm not trying to like push them away, I'm rather trying to move myself. So they need those two lever points. They need that crossface and they need that elbow or that arm to keep you flat. So if you hide those connection points so they don't get underneath and flatten you out, then it's gonna be a lot easier turning to your side and escape. So play with these and we'll probably have some other videos out coming up in more detail on it. But I think this concept should really help you by keeping your elbows really close in. Turning your chin to the side to keep you flat. A lot of times they'll use those two leverage points. Thanks for watching. We'll see you all in the next video. Like, subscribe, comment, and tell us what you want to see in the next few videos. All right, peace.